Hi everybody and welcome to the 5-hour data challenge course. My name is Alex and now let me give you a short overview of what we want to accomplish in this specific tutorial. So first, we need to cover 3 different topics, starting with the creation of the personal real estate dataset. Afterwards, we want to clean the data. So finally, we can focus on the data analysis part. Inside the first step, we want to extract data from 10 different cities or states, and we will use Beautiful Soup for the web scraping process. Afterwards, in step number 2, when we are cleaning the data, we want to focus on the removal of the unnecessary string elements, handling missing data in doubles, converting numbers to integers and floats so we are able to work with operators, removing, adding, changing column names, and actually we also want to handle a lot of more stuff, but in this overview this should be enough. And inside the data analysis part, we want to answer 10 real-life questions based on our extracted and cleaned dataset. Okay, and to be able to answer the questions, we will use the Pandas Library, the PostgreSQL database, and whenever required also the Matplotlib library to visualize our output. Okay, so this is a short agenda, and now let me show you the website. Here we want to extract real estate data of 10 different cities or states. Okay, and these are actually our cities and states we want to extract the data from, and we need to focus on the links behind each and every result, because here, for example, this one is the link behind the first result, and here we have a lot of valuable data. Okay, for example here in the heading part, but also in the body part here. Okay, and this will be actually the data we want to extract for our data set for all 10 cities and states. Okay, so this is a short overview. Afterwards we need to clean up the data, and here I actually provided the data cleaning process. And here we have all in all 7 different parts, okay, inside the data cleaning process. And once the data is cleaned, we want to answer 10 different questions, okay. Again, using Pandas, then the PostgreSQL database. Okay, you see it here. We have stored our data inside the PostgreSQL database, so we can easily run a few SQL commands to answer the questions, and whenever required we will make use of the Matplotlib library for the visualization. Alright, so this was actually it. This was the agenda for this course. Okay, I hope you liked it, and I wish you all the best. Thanks a lot and stay safe. We need to install a few libraries. So first of all, open your command prompt. For me it's this cmd command prompt. Open this one, and first and foremost we start installing the Jupyter notebook, because the Jupyter notebook will be our IDE for all upcoming projects. Okay, so let's go ahead and type in pip install Jupyter, click on enter, and for me it's actually, so I have already installed this library. That means I get this notification, so requirement already satisfied, and that's it. So once it's installed on your computer, what you need to do is the following. You have actually different ways of opening the Jupyter IDE. For example, option number 1 is you open again your command prompt, and then you start just typing Jupyter notebook, click on enter, and now you see that a window will open. So for me it's on the other screen. Let me just drag it here. So once I hit enter, this window actually opened. Okay, and now you see I have the Jupyter notebook, and I can go ahead, choose a folder, and then click on new Python 3, and you will see that this notebook will actually appear. Okay, so in this point I assume already that you have installed Python. And if you don't have installed it, and if you have any issues, let me know, and it's not a big deal to include a separate video where I explain how to install Python. Okay. Next option. Let's say you want to start from a specific folder. Let's say you choose, for example, this folder here. Then you want to start from, let's say, documents. Okay, so double click on documents. And what you can do here is you can go to this navigation part. Okay, click on this and then type in CMD. And this command prompt will open up again. Then go ahead and type in Jupyter Notebook. Oh, sorry, I have a typo. And it didn't happen to me the first time. But never mind, let's just correct it. Jupyter Notebook. Okay. And now you see that inside this documents folder, we can run right now our notebook. Okay, so that's actually it. And the next library, let me first of all close it. This was actually the first installation we have to do. The next one is we have to install the requests library. Okay, again, open up your command prompt and then go ahead and type in pip install requests. Okay, make sure you spell it exactly like this. Okay, so not singular, we have a plural here. Okay, now run it, and again, requirement already satisfied because I've already installed this requests library. Next one is the Pandas library. So go ahead and type in pip install pandas, click on enter. And again, for me, I will always right now receive this message, okay, because I have already installed it. And the last library we have to install, or the last package, is the SQL Alchemy or SQL Alchemy. This will be very important in our advanced level project, where we want to output our data frame inside the PostgreSQL database, okay? This is why we need to install the SQL Alchemy up front. Okay, so go ahead and type in pip install SQL Alchemy. Okay, like this. Now run it. Okay, again, requirement already satisfied. But on your device, if you don't have installed previously this package, this installation process will actually start. Okay, so this was it. Now we have installed 4 different packages or libraries. Now it's time to install the PostgreSQL database, because as I told you, we want to output our data frame inside the database and run a few SQL queries. So here right now I'm on Google and I need to search for the PostgreSQL. Hit enter and make sure you click on this link here. It's directly from the PostgreSQL website. Click on that and then click on download. And make sure you choose your correct operating system. So for me it's the Windows. And now here this is actually the link we need to click on. Okay, so it's download the installer. Click on that. And for me I use the latest version right now. For Windows, click on download here. And now just start the download and yeah, maybe grab a tea, a coffee, because now you need to wait a few moments until it's done. And I guess I can pause the video for a few seconds, and once it's downloaded, I will come back to you guys. Alright, my download is actually completed right now. Here I can open the folder. Okay, and this is actually the download folder. And you will see here we have the PostgreSQL application. Let's click on that. Click on yes. And now this whole installation process will start. Let's give it a few seconds. Okay, so now you will see this window here. Click on next. Click on next. And make sure all these 4 options are selected. Okay, especially the pgadmin 4. This will be actually very important when we work with the user interface of the database. Okay, now click again on next. next, and here you will be asked to choose a password, and this is right now the essential step. Okay, so for simplicity reasons, let me go and choose 1 2 3 4 5. Sure, you can use whatever password you want to. Okay, make sure you don't forget it. That's it. But now let me just retype it. 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, next. And here you have a default port number. Okay, you can leave it like this, but also just don't forget it. Okay. Then next. Just click on next. And now actually you don't need to change anything. Just click on next until this installation process here appears. So I will pause the video again and I see you guys in a few moments. Alright, so the installation process is done. You just can click on finish. And now in the next step, actually the stack builder right now is not necessary for us. So what we can do is just click on cancel. And then you can just close the stack builder itself. In the next step, we need to find the PostgreSQL folder. So here I am at Windows 10 and I need to click on start. And then here I can just scroll down and search for the letter P. It's that one. And you see we have this folder, PostgreSQL, with the version of 13. And here you see that we have the pgadmin4. And this will actually be the interface for our database. Click on that one. And now it will take a few seconds until the loading process is finished. And I will say I can just pause the video and I get back to you in a few seconds. Alright, so the loading process is done. And here we are asked for the password. Okay, and as I told you, don't forget your current password. Just type it in. And then click on OK. And in the next step, you need to open this servers. Okay, let me just open it. And you will see that now we have here a small red cross. That means the connection is not established yet. And here we are asked again for the password. Go ahead and type it in. If you want to save it, if you don't want to, you don't need to save it. Just click on OK. And now you see here that on the left side we have the database and with all these different things here. Okay, so this was actually the installation process. Everybody and welcome to the first part of this course. So now I would like to introduce you or give you an overview of what we want to achieve in this specific section. So section number 1 will be the creation of 10 different datasets. Okay, so now we will work with 10 different cities or states. Okay, we start with San Diego, then we have Albuquerque, Colorado, Philadelphia, Indianapolis, Las Vegas, Washington, Miami, New York, and San Francisco. And for all these mentioned cities and states, we need to create separate datasets. Okay, with all the real estate information. So let me show you how this will work. So again, we start with San Diego. And now you see here inside this result page, we have all the listings of the first page. But we don't want to just grab the data which is seen here in the front side, but the data which is actually also located inside the link. Okay, so each result has a link. And once you click on the result, a new link or a new tab will actually be opened. And here you see we also have this data, which you see here in the front. But we also want to have the data which you can't see inside this first page, which is, for example, the year built and the parking opportunity. Okay, this is important for us. And this is why I've chosen to grab the data which is stored behind the links of each and every result. Okay, so that means in the first step, what we need to do, we need to extract all the links. Okay, and then we need to start and extract the data from these links. Okay, so to give you an overview, we start with the imports, then we need to send the HTTP request, okay, to get access to this result page. Afterwards, we need to extract the links, okay? And once we have extracted the links, we need to get access to the address, to the bedrooms, bathrooms, square feet, year built, parking, and the price. Okay, this is actually our goal. And we start with the first page, okay, and with the links of the first page. And then we continue and we want to extract data from multiple pages. Okay, so you will see here we will have to grab a lot of data. And I've chosen the cities or the states which have more than 1,000 results because we want to build a decent data frame, okay, or data set. So this is actually the overview of the first part. And I would say let's just jump directly into the next video and start with our initial steps like the imports and the request to the website. Okay, stay tuned and I see you in the next video. Hi everybody and welcome back to the second part of section number 1. Now it's time to do all the initial steps for this project in order to be able to get access to these results here inside the first page, and then to extract the links of each and every result, okay? Because again, we want to grab the data which is stored behind the links inside this result list here, okay? So for the first result, for example, for this one, we want to extract the data which we see here, okay? So this part is important for us, but also parts of this area here, okay? And here again, you have a lot of, actually you have here more data than what you see here in the result page. This is where I've chosen to extract the data from these links, okay? This is it. So now let me go back to the notebook and we need to start with the imports. So as always, we need to import the beautiful soup. So it's from BS4 import beautiful soup. This is number 1. Number 2 is we need to import the requests library. So it's requests. And now let me just, let's just add pandas too. So we don't need to do it later. So import pandas. This is also very important because we want to see our data before we modify it or before we store it inside Excel. Okay, this is it. Let's run it. Okay, no error message, this is fine. Next one, what we have to do is we need to store the website inside a variable. Here I will choose again website as our variable here, okay? And the URL I need to grab is this one. So for San Diego, it's this result page. Copy this, back to the notebook and paste it here inside this strings. Inside this quote. So we have a string here. And now let's proceed and send a request to this website and store everything inside the response variable. So response equals to requests.get, and here I can just provide the website variable, but first I need to run this cell. Almost forgot it. And here I can just run this cell afterwards. Okay, let's see, we don't have an error message. Now let's proceed and check the status code. So it's response.status code. Let's see what we get. Status underscore code. Okay, let's run it. Okay, 200. This is the best what can happen to you. That means we have successfully sent an HTTP request to this website. And now we have this response code. This is fine. And in the next step, let's proceed and print out the soup object or create the soup object and afterwards print out the result. Let me show you. So this is the soup variable. Okay. Here let's proceed with the beautiful soup. And now we need to provide 2 different arguments. So the first one is the content of the response itself. And then we want to work with the HTML parser. Okay, this is it. Argument number 1 and number 2. Let's run it. Response. Okay, I have a typo. So it's response. Okay, not response. Sorry. run this again. Okay, this is fine. And now let's print out the soup. Alright, so here we have actually all the elements or all the HTML elements of this result page. If you want to make a cross check, let's go ahead and do this. So for example here, the first street is 10925 Polaris DR. Okay, let's just type in Polaris DR and let's see if we get a result here. So click on this area, Control F, Polaris DR, and you see here we have found something. Okay, so it's this one. Let's also make another cross check. Just for example here, Camino de la Costa, it's this one. Okay, Camino de la Costa, let's type it in. Camino, sorry, where is it? Camino de la Costa, it's here. Okay, so this should be actually proof enough that all the elements we see here actually, okay, or all the HTML elements from the first page are stored inside this soup object. Okay, and this is why this step is actually so important. Now what we need to do is we need to create a result container, okay, where actually all the result of the first pages, all these results of the first page are stored. Okay, and the soup object is actually our initial step for this one. Let me show you what I mean by this. First, I want to provide a variable, so it's result underscore container equals to soup. Okay, again, what we have created here. And now we need to search for the appropriate elements inside this soup elements here. Okay, so it's soup dot find underscore all. Okay, and now let's see how to get access to all these results inside the first page. Let's just make a right click here on the first result, then go to inspect. Okay, and now let's take a close look where all these results are actually stored. Okay, let me just inspect it again. Okay, it's this one. And now actually you need to take your time and you need to see how to get access to this one. And for example, now what I found is this. Here actually I have marked or highlighted the first list tag or li tag. So li is the abbreviation for list. Okay, and if I scroll down, you see that inside the next li tag on the left side, the second result is actually highlighted. Okay, and now if you scroll down, you see that every time you go to the next li, you will have one result item highlighted. What does this actually mean? So for example here, you see on the left side, this result is actually highlighted. It's here, okay? That means inside this li tag, I have all the information for this specific result, which you see actually here, okay? For example, we have the price, bedrooms, bathrooms, and so on. But we also have the information about the link. Okay, and as you can remember, we need to extract all the links because actually we want to have the information which is stored behind the links of each and every result. So for example, for this one, this is the link of the first result. Okay, and we actually want to have this one to be able to send a request to this link to get the appropriate information of this particular page. Okay, that means we need to get access to all these links inside the first page. So how can we do this? Let's see. So we need to find something which is actually in common for all the results, and in this example we can work with the class attribute. Okay, so again, a short wrap up. Here we have the li tag. This is the class attribute, and everything you see here inside this quotes, this is actually the value of the appropriate attribute. Okay, and here we have different values or different classes, and I want to extract this one here. Okay, so this is one class. Okay, highlight everything, then copy this one, go back to your notebook. It's here. Okay, and here actually we've started with soup.findAll, and here, as you can remember, we have the li tag. Then we have a class, okay, and the value for this class is this result here. Okay, this is what we have copied a few seconds ago. And now let me run this cell. Okay, no error message. And in the next step, what I want to do is I want to check the length of our results. That means I can easily use the length function. And here I need to provide the result underscore container variable. Run this one. Now we have 42 results. Okay. And what we need to do now is let's make a cross check. That means we open up this results page inside trulia.com. Let's scroll all the way down, and you see here that we have just 40 results and not 42. Okay. Again, inside this container, we have 42 results. Inside this result page, we have 40 results. Now we need to take a look what went actually wrong and what we need to modify. So let's just scroll up again, make a right click, inspect. Okay, and now let's try to understand the structure of the HTML. So first of all, what I want to do is I want to make this smaller. Okay, so this looks better. And in the next step, again, we know that all our results are stored inside this li tag. Okay, so here we have the unordered list. So UL is the abbreviation for unordered list, and here we have the results. Now you need to pay attention. Here inside the first li, you see on the left side that the first result is actually highlighted. Okay, then if I go with my mouse to the second li, the second result is highlighted. What happens if I go to the third li? Voila, nothing happens, right? So number 1, number 2, this looks fine. Okay, the appropriate result is highlighted. Number 3, I don't see anything. Then number 4, this one is highlighted. I think this may be a placeholder or something, but at least so this does not have any information for us. Okay, here you can't see any valuable data. It's just, maybe it's really a placeholder, I don't know. But what we know is that number 3 and number 4 is actually not very valuable for us. Let's proceed with li number 5. And now you see that the appropriate result is actually highlighted. Exactly the same happens with number 6 and number 7. That means our 2 critical candidates are this 2 here. Okay. And now if we take a close look to the structure, let me make this right now a little bit bigger. Okay. Here inside the first li, we have the data test ID attribute. Okay. Here in the second one, we also have the data test ID attribute. Then inside number 3 and number 4, we don't have it. Okay. And let me just, for example, open this one. You see here, we don't have any results we can extract. It's just nothing here. And another hint is this one. So again, I told you we have here the data test ID attribute. And here we have the SRP home card. And now we have index 0. Then we have for the next one index number 1. Then we have this 2 critical candidates without the data test ID. And then inside the next li tag, the counting proceeds. Right here we have 0, 1, nothing, nothing, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so this should be actually a hint for us that we can just ignore this 2 li tags. Again, this 2. Okay, so this and this one. Because again, as you can remember, here inside this page, we just have 40 results. And here we have 42. So let's make a double check what happens if we just ignore the li tags where the data test ID attribute is actually missing. I know this can be a little bit confusing, but you need, for every project, you need to take your time and try to understand how the HTML is actually structured or how the logic works behind each and every website you want to extract the data from. Okay? Now our next step is to filter the results and to remove everything where we don't have the data test ID attribute. Okay? This is the next requirement. So let me just open up my notebook. Okay, and here we need to update our results, because here we just want to target the elements which have the attribute data-test ID. That means in the first step, I want to provide one empty list, so it's results underscore update. This is the convention for an empty list. Now I want to write a for loop and loop through this result container, and just to extract the results which have data-test ID attribute. Okay, and ignore this two. So where is it? It's this one and this one, because these two li tags, okay, these two elements don't have the data test ID, and I want to ignore them. We can just achieve it with a simple for loop. So let's say for r in result underscore container. Okay, and now we need to have actually a second condition. A second for loop with a different condition, because now we want to have just the elements which have the attribute. Okay, and actually we can use the has underscore attr function. Let me show you. If r dot has underscore attr, and here we need to provide our attribute. So it's data hyphen test ID, this one. Okay, so if our results which are stored inside this container, okay, this is why we need to loop through this list here. For r in result underscore container, if r has attribute data test ID, then we want to append the results inside this newly created list. Okay, so it's results underscore, first of all I need to run this cell, sorry for this. Now results underscore update dot append r. Okay, this is it. Let me just run this cell here. Okay, no error message. This works fine. And in the next step, let's just actually repeat this process and check the length of the results update list. So length of results update. And now voila, we have just 40 results. Now this makes sense. So again, first of all, we had 42 results. We have checked how the HTML is actually structured, how the logic looks like, and we found out that for every list or for every li tag, we have the results stored underneath, okay, except number 3 and number 4. Okay, here these two li tags are actually useless, and we found out that both of them don't have the data test ID attribute. That means somehow we need to find a logic how to get rid of these two elements. Okay, and this is what we have done actually here with this 3 or let's say 4 lines. Okay, we have created a new list. Okay, here it's empty right now, and then we wrote a for loop in order to loop through this result container, and we wanted just to have the results or the elements which also have the data test ID attribute. Okay, and all the data from this one which have the data test ID, we want to append inside the newly created list. Okay, this is it. Then we have actually checked the length of our new list, and voila, we have 40 results, and not 42 anymore. And if we want to make cross-check again, we wanted to search for this 40. So, sorry, here, where is it? So it's this one. Here we have 40 results for this first page. Okay, I hope this was not too confusing, guys. If you have any kind of questions, please let me know in the Q&A section. And this was actually it for this video. In the next step, we need to find a way how to extract the links for each and every result. Okay, so stay tuned and I see you in the next video. Hi and welcome back to part number 3. So what we want to do now is the following. After we have actually updated our results, and here we have for the first page 40 results items or 40 entries, okay, which you can see here. Here we have 40 houses. We need to extract the links for each and every result to be able to grab information from these links. Okay, again, for example, here we want to store the information of house number 1. Let's click on this. Okay, and I mean, if we can click on this and this link opens, we want to extract actually this link here, but not just for the first result, but for all 40 results inside the page, because again, we need to extract the data, not just what we see here, okay, but from the links which are stored inside the results. Okay, so for example, here from this page, we want to store the address, the price, the amount of beds, bathrooms, the area in square feet, but also we need to grab this information like year built, or if the housing has actually a parking opportunity. Okay, this is right now our requirement, and we need to find a way how to get access to all the links. Okay, what we can do now is the following. Let's just make a right click, inspect, and now let's take a look how this is actually structured. So here, for example, you see that we have the link for the first result inside this anchor tag and this href attribute. Okay, this is the link for the first result, but the problem right now, or let's say the challenge, it's not a problem, is that this here is not an absolute URL. Okay, it's just a relative URL. And for example, here, this is the absolute URL. We start with the protocol name, then with the home page, and then we have all the remaining stuff. Okay, here you don't see trulia.com. Okay, we just start directly with /p, which in this example is this one. Okay, we just see this part of the URL, and this is the relative URL. We need to find a way how to concatenate the first part. Okay, so we have a protocol and the homepage, and then the relative URL, which is the second part, and which is actually stored inside this anchor tag and this href attribute. Okay, so let's go back to the notebook and let's think about a way how to do this. So the URL part number 1 is just trulia.com, and let me just provide one comment. So we combine URL, so URL part number 1 with URL part number 2 in order to get the absolute URL. Okay, this is right now the logic. So URL part number 1 is, I can actually write it down, or what is a better idea is to go back to the website here and to extract this one. Okay, this part here, copy it back to the notebook, and inside the quotes we can just paste it. And I think we don't, yep, this slash is not necessary. This one, okay, this is actually just our part number 1, and now we want to store it inside this variable. Okay, this is it. And now we need to create a list for the second part, so URL part number 2. Okay, this is the convention for the empty list. First of all, we need to loop through the results. So, and again, we need to loop through this list here, results underscore update. That means for item, and item is actually the iteration variable, for item in results underscore update. What we need to do is the following. So let's go back. Here you can see that inside this element here, or inside this data test ID attribute, we have property card details. Okay, and then underneath we have different elements, and we need to extract this one. Okay, we need to get access from this anchor tag, starting with this div data test ID property card details. Okay, so again we have the div tag data test ID attribute, and property card details is the value. So now we need to loop through this property card details, okay, and then we need to get access. We need to have access then to this anchor tag. This is right now the procedure. So for item and in result update, and now we need to create a second for loop. So for link, and this is our second iteration variable, in item dot find all. Okay, find all. Then we have the div, comma, and as I showed you, we have the data hyphen test ID. Okay, and now we have the property. Oh, I can make it easier. I go back here and I want to make a double click on this value, because now we are inside this element, div data test ID property card details. I copy this value, go back to the notebook and paste it here. Okay, otherwise the chances at least for me are quite high to have a typo, and I don't want to make an error right now. So after looping through this element, we need to extract the links and append them inside this empty list. Okay, so it's URL parts 2 dot append, okay, link dot find a. Okay, and now once we have found this anchor tag, we want to get the value from this href attribute. Okay, this is right now the logic. So link.find a.get href. Okay, this is the logic behind it. So let me just run this cell. Okay, we don't have an error message. And again, for the cross check, what I want to do now is, let me just call this one URL part 2. This is the list we have created. Okay, and this looks right now quite fine. Here we have all our relative URLs. Let's make a cross check and check the length of this list. This is also 40, and now this looks actually fine. So I hope this one was not too confusing. Again, we have two URL parts. Part number 1 is this one, okay, protocol plus the homepage itself. And then we have the relative part, which is stored inside this anchor tag. And in order to be able to extract it, we need to create a new empty list. Then we need to loop through all the results, which is this list here. And this item is our first iteration variable. Okay, this is our first for loop. Then inside the second for loop, we need to loop through all. So let me show you through this element here. Okay, div data test ID property card details, because the anchor tag and the appropriate relative URL is stored here, which is actually underneath this element here. Okay, and this is why we need to use this one inside our second for loop. inside here, okay? So that finally we are able to extract the anchor tag, okay? This anchor tag, and especially the value which is stored inside this href attribute, okay? So this is why we need to work with the get function. Okay, again, anchor tag get href, and we want to append the output inside this list here, which is actually, or which we created in this line. Okay, this is it. After we have run our cell, we see here that we also have 40 results, and the last part is actually the following. We need to join URL1, okay, with URL2, which is this one, okay? This is right now the next requirement. So here I need to actually again create a new list. So let's say it's URL underscore joined. Then we need to loop through URL part 2, okay? Let's say for link underscore 2 in UR, do you have a bug right now? I hope not. URL part 2, okay, now it works again. And what we need to do is we want to append something inside this empty list here. And what do we want to append? It's the following. So URL joined dot append. And here, before I proceed, I need to import a package, okay? So it's actually the URL lib parse, import URL lib.parse, not pandas, it's parse, okay? And the auto completion is actually sometimes crazy here. So this is what we need to import, URL lib.parse. Let's run it. This looks fine. And now it's here, URL joined dot append, okay? And now we need to make use of the URL lib package. So it's URL lib dot parse dot URL join, okay? Because we need to concatenate or to join URL1 and URL2, okay? And here we just need to provide the name, or actually the variable. So for the first part we have URL part 1, right? URL part 1, comma, a link underscore 2. Why? Because here we have used link 2 as our iteration variable, because we need to loop through URL part 2, which is actually this one. Okay, here we have 40 results. As you can remember, I can actually run this cell again. As you can remember, here we had 40 results of 40 relative URLs, and we need to combine number 1 with each and every of these 40 relative URLs. Okay, this is actually the logic behind it. So this is why we need to write the for loop to be able to loop through all the relative URLs, and then we use the URL lib.parse.url join in order to concatenate URL part 1 with each and every relative URL. Okay, and this is right now the logic behind it. Let's run this one. Okay, no error message. This looks fine. Now let's see how the URL joined list is looking like. Okay, let's run it. And voila, now we have created 40 absolute URLs. Okay, and this is actually right now very important because we need to send a request to each and every link to be able to get access to the data we are searching for. Okay, so let's make a cross check. For example, let's choose a random link. Let's say it's this one. Let's see if this works. Copy, open a new tab, paste it here. Let's run it. And voila, our logic worked successfully. Okay, this is right now what we want to have. Okay, So this was actually it for this video. In the next video, we want to get data from the first link, which will be the address, the amount of bedrooms, bathrooms, the area in square feet, the year built, parking, and the price. Okay, so we have 7 different data points, and we need first to start with link number 1. Then we need to create a logic, how to get access to all these data points. And then in the next one, we need to loop through each and every result of the page. So finally, we are able to get access to multiple pages. So again, everything is step by step. Okay, we start with link number 1, then with page number 1, with all the links, and finally we have the possibility to grab the data from multiple pages. Okay, so again, step by step. We need to work with patience because so the data set will be quite big. Okay, and this should be everything for this video. Okay, thank you very much, stay tuned, and I see you in the next one. Hi everybody, and welcome back to part number 4. Now, since we have extracted the links in the last video, we need to work with this list here, okay, and to extract the data we want to have. So we start right now with page number 1, and especially with result number 1, okay, to get a feeling how all this can work. And this here, so let me just close it and click on the first result. This is the link of the result number 1, okay, and it's exactly this one here, which is the first one in our list, which actually makes sense. Now what we need to do is we need to get data from the first link, and again we want to have this 7 data points. Okay, this is it. So before we start, or actually our first step is, let's create the first link variable. Okay, and we need to have or to get access to the first link. So everything was stored inside the URL joined variable. Okay, and here we see that we have a list, and we need to work with index number 0 to get access to the link number 1. Okay, this is right now our procedure. I will run this cell. Okay, and in the next step we need to send a request and to create our soup object. Okay, so again I use the response variable, and response equals requests.get, and I want to have the first link. Okay, this is actually it. Now I can run this cell. Let's see. Okay, we don't have an error message, this is fine. And now let's go ahead and create our soup object. So soup equals to beautiful soup, and argument number 1 is response.content, and in the second argument we can just provide html.parser. Okay, run this one, looks fine. And now let's see how our soup object is actually looking like. Looks like this. Okay, and every time you want to make a cross check, just open the appropriate page. It's this one here, and let's say for example you want to search for the street here. So highlight it, copy this one, and paste it inside this area. So click on this area, Control F, paste it, and voila, you have a result here. Okay, so this should be actually a good sign that here we have the HTML elements which we see inside this page. Okay, and this is the reason why this soup variable will be our starting point when we try to extract the data. Okay, this is it. So now let's see. First one is the address. Okay, now let's see how to get access to this address. So let's locate our mouse here, right click, inspect, and now let's take a look at the structure itself. Okay, so here for example we have the span tag, the data test ID attribute, and this home details summary headline value. Okay, and inside this element here we have this text, and this is what we want to to extract. So double click on the value, copy it, and remember we have span and data test ID. Okay, and the value we have actually copied, we don't need to remember it. Back to the notebook, and now I will go ahead and write down soup.find. Okay, now we have the span, comma, and inside the dictionary we have data hyphen test ID colon, and here inside this quotes I can just paste what I have copied. Okay, it's this one. Now let's run it, and now we have this line here, and as you can see we want to get access to this text element. That means we can just use the get text function, and voila, now we have successfully extracted the address of the first link. So this is it. Next one, we want to have the bedrooms. Okay, back to the home page. Let's locate the bedrooms. It's actually this one here. Okay, let's do it here. And now let's take a look how we can get access to this one. So here, here for example, you see here we have bed, bath and floor, and this is actually a very good sign. So if I open again this li tag, we see here that our text element is actually located right here. Okay, and now let's try to work with this line. So it's li data test ID and bed is the value. I will just copy the value again. Again, remember li data test ID, back to our notebook. It's this one. Okay, soup.find. Here we have span. Was it span? Right? So no, sorry, it was li. My mistake. So li, comma, data hyphen test ID colon, and here we have the bed. Run this one, and we want to extract this text element. That means we need to again use the get text function. This is it, and this is what we wanted to have. Awesome, this looks fine. Next we want to have the bathrooms. So let's go back, and you see here now it's actually quite simple. We need to do the same and just replace the value. So instead of bed we want to have the bath. Okay, let's open it, and you see here that the structure is similar, and here we want to extract the text element. So back to the notebook, let's just copy this one, paste it here, and replace bed with, so it was bath or baths? Okay, singular bath. Okay, so like this, run it, and voila, now we have this text element. This looks fine. And finally we want to have the area in square feet, which is actually this information here, and here it's stored inside the floor, or actually inside this line here, and the floor is the value. Okay, all the remaining stuff will be the same. That means this is actually also very straightforward. Let's just copy this line, paste it here, and replace bath with floor. Okay, and now successfully we have grabbed the information here. This is fine. Next we want to have the year build, and it's actually stored inside this one here. Okay, let's now take a look how to get access to this area, and especially to the year build, and afterwards we also need to extract the parking information. So what we can do is we can click on this inspect tool, click on this one, and then navigate to this area here, year build. Okay, so to this one, and now let's search where it's actually stored. exactly. Okay, so it's here, and now, so let's make a cross check where it is exactly. So it's here, for example. You right now need to think about the logic, how you want to proceed. So here we have two text elements. Okay, so year build is text element number 1, and the year itself is text element number 2. And actually you have different kind of possibilities, but my way of, or actually my approach looks like this. First of all, I want to make sure that I have the information year build. Okay, so that means if I have this string element, which is this one, I want to go ahead and extract also this one, which is right now the next sibling, right? So I don't want just to provide div, let's say with index number 1, 2, 3, because imagine tomorrow this area here, year build, is not in the first place, but let's say in place number 3, or in place number, let's say in the last place, okay? And actually you lose some kind of a control if you just provide div with a certain index, okay? This is why I've chosen to work with the condition that if we have the information about the year build, then I want to go ahead and extract the data of the next sibling, because there definitely the information will be stored which we need. Okay, and this is it. So this is right now the logic, and what I want to do now in the next step is I use this div tag, then we have the string element, which is this one. Okay, that means the condition is just if we have a div with this text element, I want to go ahead and get access to the next sibling, and especially to the next sibling's text element. Okay, this is right now the logic. Now let's make a double click here on year build, copy this one back to the notebook. Okay, year build, and now let's proceed with soup.find. Okay, let's search for div, comma, string equals to year build, and I've actually copied and pasted right now. Okay, and then we need to get access to the next sibling, and we simply can use the find next function. Okay, find next div, and we want to get access to the text. Okay, get underscore text. Let's run it, and voila, this is here. So for example, let's say we don't have the year build information. That means this here is just not present because there is no information about the year build of this house. Okay, directly, that means we don't get access to the next div, so we won't have a year. Okay, that means we will just either get an error message or just an empty string. Okay, and this is right now the logic why I have actually built it like this. All right, so the next information is the parking opportunity. Here, for example, we have parking, we have the garage. Okay, and if I click on this inspect tool located here, you will see that the logic looks actually quite similar. Okay, inside this div tag we have this parking text element, and the next sibling is the garage. Here it's the same. The first condition is if we have parking information, then I want to go ahead and grab the data of the next div element, and especially the text element. Okay, this is it. That means actually I can use almost the same expression. So copy this one, paste it here, and what I need to do now is I just need to replace the year build with, it was parking, right? Yep, with parking. So parking, and now you see that now we have the access to the garage text element. So let's say, for example, the parking information tomorrow will be stored or actually placed inside this area where the pool information is. Okay, that means we don't get an error message, and we will get access to this parking stuff. Okay, this is it. This is the logic why I have written the expression like this. Okay, but if you have a better way, guys, go along, go with your path. Actually, for this tutorial, I would like to show you my approach and my way of thinking, of working. This is why, yeah, I've chosen it, yeah, in this way. This was actually the logic. And finally, let's go ahead and grab the price. So here the price is stored here, right? So right click, inspect. And now let's take a look what we have here. So here we can start with the H3 heading. Then we have the data test ID attribute, on market price details value, and just underneath we have the text element, that means the price. Okay, let's go and let's double click on the value, copy this one, again H3 data test ID, back to the notebook, and let's write down soup.find. First we have H3, comma, then data hyphen test ID, colon, and now let's paste the value here. Okay, run this cell, and now let's use again the get text function, get underscore text, and voila, now we also have access the price information. Okay, so everything is here: address, bedrooms, bathrooms, square feet, year built, parking, price. Okay, all 7 data points are extracted for the first link. Now, in the next video, what we are going to do is we want to loop through each and every link inside the first page. Okay, here we had 40 results. And again, sometimes if I use trulia.com, I get 30 results, sometimes 40. Okay, in this example, I have 40 results. And I want to send a request to each and every link and to extract all the 7 information from each and every link. Okay, this is actually the looping through all links inside the first page. Okay, and this will be actually the content of the next video and our fundament for being able to grab the data from multiple pages. Okay, again, step by step. In the next video, we want to cover how to loop through all links inside the first page and grab for each and every link all 7 data points. Okay, so thank you very much, stay tuned, and I see you in the next one. Hi and welcome to part number 5. So now it's time to put all the logic together and loop through the results in the first page in order to be able to grab the links of each and every result, and especially the data which is stored behind behind each and every link. Okay, so actually what we have done in the last video, where we have grabbed the data for one link or for one result, now we want to use the same logic but for all 40 results inside the first page. So now let's go back to the notebook. Okay, and in the first step, what I want to do, I want to create empty lists. Okay, so the empty lists with our required data points. Okay, so we start with the address, and again, this is the convention for the empty list. Now you can just copy it and paste it 6 more times and just replace, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 7 data points, and just replace the data points. Okay, so the second one is the amount of bedrooms. Then we have the bathrooms. Afterwards, we have the area in square feet. Okay, then we have the year built. Afterwards, what we have is the parking information. And finally, we want to extract the price. Okay. So empty lists, this is the first step. In the next step, we need to loop through all joined links. Okay, so it's actually, let me just scroll up here. Here we have the URL joined variable, and inside this list we have 40 different links. Okay, and we need to loop through each and every link. So now I will scroll down again, and let's write down for link in URL joined. Okay, so this is our iteration variable, and we want to loop through the URL joined list. Okay, here we need to send a request to each and every link, and let's store it inside the response variable. So response equals to requests.get, and we want to get the links. Okay, and here this link is actually the iteration variable when we loop through all the links inside this list. Okay, this is actually the logic. Afterwards, what we need to do is we need to create the soup object. Okay, so the logic is the same what we have done in the previous steps. Okay, here we want to have the response.content, and our parser is html.parser. Okay, so we start with the address. That means we want to append all the address information inside this address list, which for now is actually empty. But once we start loop through all the results, we want to append each and every address information inside this list here. Okay, so that means address dot append. Okay, and here we have soup dot find, and once I scroll up, what we can do actually is this. Here you see that we have already found a way how to get access to the address, and to make life simpler we can just copy it. Okay, go back down and just paste it inside this brackets here. Okay, paste it here, and voila, now this expression should actually work. Okay, and this is the logic how to get access to each and every address information. So the major part we have actually done in the last video, where we have created all the expressions for the appropriate data points. Okay, and now we can actually use all this in order to get the information of all links and not just for the first one. Okay, and one short addition, what I want to do now is I want to work with the try and except blocks. Okay, it's coming actually from Python itself. That means I want to try to find this expression, so the address. Okay, and let's say if a link does not contain the address information, I don't want to have an error message, I just want to append nothing. Okay, this is the logic. That means inside the address list I want to append an empty string. Okay, it looks like this. So either we have the information we want to get, or if we don't see this information inside the link or the page, we will just get back nothing. Okay, and this is one of the ways how we can actually get rid of an error message, because then we just have an empty result. Okay, this is the logic behind the try and except block. Okay, so this was the logic for the address, and we actually need to do the same for all the remaining data points. Okay, so let's just copy it, paste it here underneath, and now let's replace the address with the bedrooms. Okay, here we also need to replace the bedrooms, bedrooms, and also this expression here. Okay, so remove it, scroll up, and now let's copy this expression here, go back down and paste it here. This is right now it. Okay, and in the next step, again copy it, paste it underneath, okay, and replace here, for example, bedrooms with bathrooms. And I want to do the same for the lists. So, and this one should also be replaced. And now you see this is actually a little bit a boring task, but this is necessary if we want to have the data. So let me just take a look. It's this one, right? Bathrooms, copy this, go back down, paste it right now here. This looks fine. Next one, now we can make it a little bit faster. Copy this, paste it underneath, and here we have the area. Okay, so let's replace all bathrooms with area, and this expression you can easily replace with the area. Okay, it's actually square feet. This should be actually the same. So let me take a look here. Area or square feet. Yep, this is it. So copy this one, paste it here. Okay, this looks fine. Now copy, paste, and instead of area, we want to have the information when this house was built. Okay, and here this expression can be replaced with this one. Copy, go back down, paste it here. Okay, this looks fine. Now copy these lines down, paste, and instead of year built, let's grab the parking information and replace all the year built with parking. And also we need to use this expression here for the parking information. Paste it here. And finally we have the price. Okay, that means copy this part, paste it here, and instead of parking I want to have the price. It actually looks like this. And finally let's replace the current expression with the price expression here. Paste it here, and now this should be actually working fine. In the next step, what we need to do is we want to create a dictionary, okay, where we actually append our results. Okay, so first of all, again, we have created this empty lists. Then we loop through each and every link. Okay, we send a request, get back a response, and then we create a soup object. And this is actually our starting point when we want to address a certain data point. Okay, and with each and every loop, we want to extract the appropriate data, save it inside this list. Okay, and once it's done, we need to create a dictionary. Create a dictionary with the results. Okay, this is it. Let's give it a name. Let's say it's output equals, and now we need to work with key and value pairs. So address colon, here we have the address list. Okay, so this is just the column name, and this is the list itself, which is in the first example this one. Okay, and the logic also applies for all the remaining parts. So we have bedrooms, and the list is bedrooms. Then we have bath rooms, and the list is bathrooms. Next, what do we have? We have the area and the area list. Next one is the year built, and the list is year underscore built. right? And then we have the parking info, and finally the access to the price. Why is it buggy right now? Let's take a look. Parking. Okay, now it works. Finally we have the price. All right, so this should be actually everything for now. Let's remove the unnecessary spaces here. Okay, so this should actually look fine. Okay, and now I want to run this cell here. Let's see if this works. Let's run it. Okay, now it will take a few seconds because again we need to send requests to all links. In our example we have all in all 40 different links. Okay, and I would say we'll just make a short pause in this video, and once it's loaded I will get back to you. Okay, so see you in a few seconds. Okay, now the loading process is over. Let's scroll down and let's show the output. Show output. Okay, that means we need to call this variable here. So it's output. Let's run the cell. Let's see, and this actually looks fine. So here we have the address, okay, and a list with each and every address here. Okay, then we have the bedrooms and the information about all the bedrooms and so on. But now this is not very helpful. Actually it is, but we need to hand this one over to the Pandas Dataframe and it will actually look even better. Okay, so let's say df is the variable for our data frame. Then let's make use of the pd.dataframe. So let's take a look. Okay, so we have actually imported pandas, but the common convention is to import pandas as pd. Okay, this is the abbreviation. Let me just run this cell again. Okay, now let's scroll down, and here we can make use of the Pandas Dataframe. So Pandas Dataframe, and here I want to hand over the output variable, which is this one with these results here. Okay, this is it. Now let's run it. So Pandas has no attribute Dataframe. Okay, so now let's take a look and let's debug it, and let's see what I have actually messed up here. Okay guys, here I had a typo, so it's data frame with capital D, but also with capital F. Okay, so this is actually very, very important, and this was my mistake. So let's replace it, and this is actually the correct spelling. Okay, now run the cell again. We don't see an error message anymore, and now let's run or call this variable, and voila, you see here this is our data frame for the first page. Okay, so this looks actually fine. Here we have all our 40 results. Okay, so from index number 0 until index number 39, and yep, this is it guys. This was the demonstration how to get access to the data which is stored inside the first page, or to be a little bit more precise, which is stored behind each and every link of the first page. Okay, because otherwise we wouldn't have the access to the parking and to the year build information. Okay, and here for example you see that for parking we have either garage, or we don't have an information, or we have a carport, open parking, and so on and so forth. Okay, so sometimes we even have 2-car garage, so the information is actually different. This is actually it. Okay, so this was the demonstration for the first page. Okay, and in the next video I want to show you how to get access from multiple pages, because I told you already that we want to have a big data set. So something between 500 and 1000 results after cleaning everything up for one city or state. Okay, and in the next video I want to show you how to get access to multiple pages. Okay, so thank you very much, stay tuned, and I see you in the next one. Hi everybody and welcome back to part number 6. Now what we want to achieve is we want to scrape data from multiple pages. Okay, so in the last video we were able to scrape data from the first page and to extract the links and send a request to the links. So finally we had access to this data frame. Okay, again, this is the result of page number 1. Now we want to scrape data from multiple pages. Okay, so now what we want to do, again, the major part is actually done. Now we have to make use of the copy paste, and what is actually also very necessary is to understand the logic behind this URL structure. Okay, so what happens if I click to the next page? So please observe this one very carefully. We scroll down and we click on page number 2. Let's see what happens. And now you can see here that this one appears. Okay, so 2_p, p probably stands for page. Okay, this would make sense. So next one, let's say I want to go to page number 3. Let's see. And you see here that just this digit changes. Okay, this one. What happens if I go to page number, let's say 18? Okay, 18, enter, and voila. Now this is the result page. Let's make a cross check. And here you see that we are inside page number 18. Okay, and this is actually what we want to have. So now we know that the only difference is that we need to exchange this digit with another one. Let's say I want to make 1_p, and directly we land on page number 1. Okay, this is actually what we want to have. So now I will just copy this one, copy this link or this URL back to the notebook, and first of all let me just paste it here inside the comment. Okay, because in a few seconds we want to make use of it. So here, once you start scraping data from multiple pages, you can see it actually as a separate project. Okay, but since we have actually done already the major part of the work, we don't need to start from scratch. Okay, we can just use the previous lines of code. Here, for example, I want to start with the empty lists. Okay, I want to copy this part here, copy this, go back here, paste it inside this part. Okay, this is actually number 1. Then what we need to do is we need to make sure that we have access to URL part number 1. And if we scroll up, we can see here that it was stored inside. Let me just find it here, this one. Copy this one, scroll all the way down, paste it here. This is right now part number 1. Afterwards, we need to create a for loop. Okay, so for I in range, and now it depends how many pages we want to get the data from. Let's say I want to extract results from, let's say from 30 pages. Okay, from, or let's say 25. Okay, let's go for 25. And sometimes you have 40 results per page, sometimes it's 30. It always actually depends on Schule.com. I remember I've used this one for one of my previous projects, and then I just had access to 30 results in one page. Now I have actually 40. Okay, so let's just go with, so let's say with 25 pages. Okay, and we either have access to 30 or 40 results for each and every page. Okay, this is actually the logic. And here we can make use of the range function. And if we want to extract 25 pages, we can go ahead and write for I, which is our iteration variable, in range 1, 26, because again 26 is not included. Okay, so let me just show you a short demo. For I in range 1, 26, print I. Okay, let's see what we get. And here we have all the results from number 1 up to number 25. Okay, and this is the logic behind the fact if we want to scrape data from 25 pages, okay, then we can make use of this range function. This is it. So now in the next step, I want to have the website, okay, and I store it inside the website variable. Okay, it was not this one. I want actually to have this one. Okay, so actually the URL we have copied a few seconds ago, paste it here, and now since we have seen that the only difference is that this digit changes for each and every page, we need to somehow replace it, okay, because this was actually the logic we have taken a look at. So let me just remove this digit. And what I want to do now is, so let me show you. I want to work with the iteration variable, okay, and it's actually this one. With each and every iteration, the digit will increment by 1, okay. So we start with number 1, then we have number 2, 3, 4 until 25. This was the example you have seen a few moments ago, okay. And with each and every iteration, okay, we will replace this iteration variable, and it will start from 1 until 25. Okay, this is actually it. And we have to cast it inside a string because the URL itself is also a string. Okay, here we have actually split up. So let me show you. We have actually split up this URL in 3 parts. Okay, so here we had a string. Now we have still one string. Then we have an iteration variable casted inside a string, concatenated with a plus symbol. And then we also want to concatenate all this stuff with this underscore p. Okay, this is actually the logic. That's it. So now in the next step, what I need to do, I need to send a request. So request, this is actually also what we had in the previous steps. You can just copy it, copy this one, go back down, okay, paste it here. Then we have a soup object. So soup object, let's find it quickly. Where is our soup object? It's this one, right? Copy this, go back down, paste it here, okay. In the next step, we had our result container with all the links. So where is it? Let me just find it quickly. Our result container is this one, okay. Copy this result container, go back down, paste it here. And as you can remember, after we had our results, we needed to make a few modifications to update our results. Okay, this was actually the content of one of the previous videos. So results update. Let me just scroll up and find the appropriate line here. It's this one. Copy it, paste it here. Okay. And then as you can remember, we wanted to have only the results with the attribute data-test ID. Okay, and this line we also can copy, or this lines, it's here, copy this one, go back down and paste it here. Okay, now in the next step, once we had access to our updated results, we wanted to concatenate or to extract all the links from a certain page, as you can remember. Okay, that means first of all we had our list, which is the relative URL. Okay, relative underscore URL, and we needed to extract it from all the links. Okay, so what we need to do now is the following. Here, let's scroll up and see how we managed the extraction of all the relative links. Okay, so let me just take a look. It was actually here. Okay, it was here, and in the previous example I've named it like this, URL part 2, but relative URL is actually the same. Okay, that means I just need to copy this part, because here, let's see, yep, I've already provided this empty list, which is the relative URL. Paste it here, and now in the next step what I want to do is the following. I want to replace URL part 2 with relative URL. Okay, relative URL, and here I want to append all our results. Okay, this is actually it. So let me make a short cross check, and here we also can provide a comment. We want to loop through the results. Okay, this is it. And you see, guys, we just have made a few copy and paste statements, and the only exception was the logic behind this URL structure. Okay, this is it. Now in the next step, we need to provide the URL joint list, okay, because then we want to append all our absolute URLs, and it's actually part of this here. Okay, it was this one. Copy this, go back down. So go back down, and don't forget, actually I shouldn't forget to replace URL part 2 with relative URL. So back down, and then in the next step I want to paste it here. Okay, so URL joint, this is right now an empty list. Empty list URL joint. Okay, so in the next step, for link 2 in relative URL, okay, what we want to do is we need to append our results to this list here. Okay, again, everything was actually covered already in the last videos. Now we need to put everything together. This is it. And in the next step, we can make use of this for loop here. Okay, of this one. So I want to copy all these lines here, copy this one, and actually I also can copy this this dictionary part. Give me 1 second. Copy all this stuff here, copy it, go back down, and here you can just go ahead and paste it directly underneath. Okay, and also make sure that you have intended everything properly, otherwise you will have an error message. So it should actually look like this. Okay, so where is it right now? Our second for loop, actually it's the third one, and it's here. Okay, here we have our comment. Okay, And I would say this should be actually it for this example. Let's see if I have messed something up. I mean, we have a lot of different lines here, but this is actually required if we want to extract data from multiple pages. Okay, this is it. And now I can, let's make a short cross check what we've done, and then let's run our code. So first of all, we need to create the empty lists here, number one. Then we have stored the first part of the URL inside this variable. In the next step, what we need to do is we need to loop through the amount of pages we want to have, or to the number of pages, and we want to extract 25. Okay, that means we can use the range function from 1 to 26, and keep in mind that 26 is actually not included. Okay, then we had the structure of the website, and the only difference was that every time we go to the next site, just the digit changes, and here we just need to replace the I with in the first page with number 1, then we have number 2, number 3, all the way up until we reach page 25. Okay, for each and every page we want to send a request, store it inside the response variable. Then we need to create a soup object. Okay, and once we have access to all the HTML elements, we need to provide a result container, okay, where we have actually stored all the results. And then we need to update our results because we want to have just the data where we have and data test ID attribute. Okay, and if this does not make sense to you, please again take a look. I think it was in video number 2 or 3 of this section, and there I have actually explained in detail how this logic worked. Okay, then once we have updated our results, we needed to get access to the relative URL. Okay, again we have URL part 1, and URL part 2 is here the relative URL. Okay, and once we have actually accessed all the necessary relative URLs, okay, it was actually here, we have written 2 for loops and appended all the necessary URLs inside this list here. And finally, we also have to join the first part of the URL with the second part, which is actually this relative URL list. Okay, this was actually done. It was done here. Okay, and once we have provided or concatenated or merged 2 different URLs, we want to store them inside this URL joined list. Okay, and this is actually our starting point for the next for loop. Okay, because now we need to send a request to each and every link. Okay, and this part was just a copy paste from the previous video, because once we have the absolute URL, we are able to extract data like the address, bedrooms, bathrooms, and so on. Okay, and again we work with the try and except block. That means the chances are very high that in one of the links some kind of information is actually missing, and we don't want to have an error message. We just want to have nothing or an empty string. Okay, this is the logic behind it. And once we have looped through each and every link, we want to append our data inside this dictionary. Okay, here we need to work with key and value pairs, and the key is actually the column name, and the value is actually the list we have created here. Okay, here we have actually 7 columns with 7 different lists. The last one, for example, is the price list, which is this one. This is actually it. So I know it's a little bit, it's quite a lot, but I'm optimistic. Let's go ahead and run this cell. Let's cross the fingers. 3, 2, 1, let's go. And directly something crashed. Let's take a look. Here we have an indentation issue in line 33. So let's take a look what went wrong here. Okay, so here this should be actually intended, because here we have a for loop. Okay, so now let's run this cell again. Okay, next error message. Again, indentation, line 43. Let's take a look and debug it together right now. Okay, so this makes also sense. Here we have a nested for loop, or a for loop inside a for loop. And this one we need to intend to. Okay, so this looks fine, at least for now. Let's see. Okay, now we don't see, at least directly, an error message. And this can actually take a few moments, because now imagine we have between 30 and 40 links or results inside one page. And now we need to grab or get access to 25 pages. Okay. That means now it will take a while, and if you work with the Jupyter Notebook and you see the star, that means the loading process is ongoing, okay? And this means I will stop the video for now, and once the loading process is over, I will get back, and then we can actually take a look at our data. Thank you very much, and I see you in a few seconds, or let's say in a few minutes, when this loading process is over. See you soon. Alright, welcome back. Now the loading process finished, and let's see if we have an error message. Okay, doesn't look like this. Let me also cut this cell out. Okay, and now in the next step, what we need to do is, so first of all, we have created this output, okay, and this is the dictionary. Now let's hand it over to the Pandas Dataframe. That means df equals to pd dot dataframe. Okay, and here let me just provide the output, and in the next step I want to print out the whole data frame. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's run this one, and this looks actually fine. So here you see this is our result. We have 870 results. Okay, and this is actually what we wanted to have. We have the address, bedrooms, bathrooms, area, year built, parking, and the price. All right, this looks fine. Now in the next step, what I want to do is I want to add a separate column. Okay, and here I want to mention the city we extracted the data from, because once we have our 10 data sets, we want to append everything together, okay, but this will be actually part in our data cleaning section. And then I actually want to know which row belongs to which city, okay? So what I need to do now is the following here. So I want to reference the df, okay, our variable. That means df, and here I want to provide location. You can also choose city or state. I just want to go for location. And here we had San Diego, right? San Diego. Now let me run the cell. Okay, this is fine. Let's print out again the df. And voila, you see here that this column was added. Okay, so here it was not present. And here we see it. Okay, this was the goal. Now, in the next step, what we want to do is we need to store everything inside the Excel file. Okay, so it's df2_excel. Here, let's name it dataframe_san_diego.xlsx, comma, and the index is false. Okay, this is it. Let's run the cell. This looks actually fine. And now let me open up the folder. So where is it right now? Give me just 1 second. And it's actually here. Okay, so this is our result. So take a look at this, guys. Here we have our 25 pages of the results from Julia .com. Okay. All right, so this is fine. This was actually the creation of one data frame, or sorry, of one data set. And we need to do this for the remaining 9, okay? But now, what I actually want to do, so 1 second. So here, San Diego is done. And we need to create the data frame for the remaining 9, okay? But let me show you how we can make life simpler, because actually we just need to start from this part here, okay? Because everything which was actually before, it was a preparation for the main part, which is this here, okay? So what I want to do now is the following. I want to copy this cell here. Then I go back to my folder and I actually want to open a new notebook inside this folder here. That means I go for CMD, type in Jupyter Notebook. Sorry, it's a typo again. So Jupyter Notebook. Okay, now this should look fine. And actually we want to go for, I think it was Albuquerque, right? So click on New, Python 3. Here I can provide Albuquerque. Okay. And now I want to paste the code here. Oh, sorry, it was not this one. So let's go back here. Here I want to highlight everything. So Control A, Control C to copy it. And now paste it here. Okay, this is actually what we want to have, right? This is it. And actually you also can provide one heading. So here, for example, we had multiple pages San Diego. Let me just copy this one, paste it here, okay, and change it from code to markdown. Okay, and here we have right now this new heading, but it's Albuquerque. Albuquerque. Okay. All right. And now what we also need to do is we need to copy and paste the remaining stuff. That means this is the next one. Copy this. Paste it directly underneath. Okay, number 1. Then we have this line here, number 2, and change it from San Diego to Albuquerque. Okay. And afterwards, we want to store everything inside the Excel file. That means data frame, San Diego, no, it's Albuquerque. Albuquerque. Okay. All right. Now, before we run this cell, the only thing we need to replace is the URL itself. Everything else will remain the same. Okay. This is actually the beauty about it. So for the next example, now I want to open up the Albuquerque results. So instead of San Diego, let's type in Albuquerque. Okay, let's search for it. Now let's take a look. And this looks actually fine. Okay, here the logic is actually the same. For the URL, that means I can just copy this one, copy this, go back to your notebook, and replace this part here with the Albuquerque stuff. Okay, this is right now the logic. Everything else remains the same. Okay, that means for now I will run this cell again. Okay, and I have an error message. Okay, makes sense. Sorry guys, my mistake. I've completely forgotten to copy and paste all the imports. Okay, so copy it from here and just go ahead and paste them here. Okay, and you also can provide again one heading, imports, and this should actually look fine. So imports, run this cell. Let's see, this looks fine. Now let's run this one. Okay. And now again, it's loading because you see we have a star here. And this is the logic actually, how you can use one finished notebook, okay, or the code inside this notebook in order to go ahead and extract the data for the next city or state, okay. And now again, we need to wait until the next data set is actually created or is being created. And once the loading process is over, I will get back to you guys and then we see how to proceed. Okay, so thank you very much and I see you in a few moments when this loading process is over. Okay, so the loading process for Albuquerque also seems to be finished, and let's take a look. And we don't have an error message here. Now let's go ahead, run the next cell and create our data frame. Okay, and now it looks like this. So you see here we have 880 results, but it seems that we have a lot of missing data. And this is actually a very good example to show you actually in the next section how we can handle missing data. For now, let's go ahead, run this cell, okay, because we want to create another column where we have Albuquerque. And after we have run the cell, let's print out again the data frame. And now it looks like this, okay. And finally, we want to store it inside the Excel file. Let's run this one. Okay, and now open the folder where your notebook is saved. For me, it's this one, and this is the file which was created a few seconds ago. Double click, and now you see that this is actually our dataset for Albuquerque. Let's observe it a little bit, and as we have already seen, we have missing data. So let's take a look. If we scroll down here, something is missing here, and here you see we have a lot or a bunch of missing data. Okay, so this is why I recommend to work with the try and accept block. Okay, so here you see that we didn't get an error message, we just have empty results or empty strings. Okay, so this is actually our data frame for Albuquerque. Okay, so this was actually it. And again, this is a very good example. So I can show you how to handle the datasets where a lot of data is actually missing. So save it again. And now actually you need to proceed and do the exact same steps for all 8 remaining cities or states. Let me show you again. Now we have covered San Diego and Albuquerque. And actually it's up to you right now to go ahead and to create all the remaining datasets. Actually, let's initialize one last one. Let's go for Colorado. And I will just initialize it. Okay, so you have again, let's say a short wrap up, how this works, or a third example. And then to save some time, I mean, this procedure is actually, it's repeating, there is nothing new. And for the all remaining stuff, I would recommend that you go ahead and do this on your own. Okay, it's a good practice. And if you say, okay, I have understood this process, I also respect that. So you can save some time, go ahead and just take a look in the download section. And there I will provide all 10 datasets. Okay, again, I recommend to do it on your own. If you want to save some time, which is totally okay, go ahead, take a look at the download section, and there I will provide all 10 datasets. Okay, but for now, I want to initialize at least the Colorado notebook. That means I go to this one here. Okay, so this is actually my Jupyter notebook overview. Here I want to create one new notebook. And now this is Colorado. Right, Colorado, rename, this is fine. Now I actually just need to copy and paste everything. So copy this line, paste it here, change from code to markdown. Okay, number one. Then we have our imports. Copy this, paste it here. Number three, let's copy all this stuff here, paste it here. Let's run it. In the meantime, we can go ahead, grab all the code which is stored inside this cell. Copy this one back to our Colorado notebook, paste it here. Okay, and now we should go ahead and replace this one. But first, let me just finish my copy and paste flow. So copy this one, go down, paste it here, then copy, paste, and copy, paste, and finally the last one, copy and paste. Okay, this is it. Now what we need to do is let's do our modifications. Now it's not Albuquerque anymore, it's Colorado, right? So here let's go ahead and type in Colorado. Okay, let's search for it. Okay, and this is actually what we want to extract. So that means I go ahead, make a double click here, copy this this URL, then go back to the notebook and paste it here. Okay, so it's this one. Afterwards, what I need to do is, so df location, it's not Albuquerque, it's right now Colorado. And here the data frame is also Colorado. Okay, this is it. Okay guys, so now this should be actually the last example demonstration. I will run this cell again now, and I will pause the video, and once it's done I will get back to you again, and then we take a look. As in the previous example, we want to take a look at the data frame, then we need to append the new column and store everything inside an Excel file. And for the remaining datasets, it's up to you to go ahead and do this on your own. Otherwise, it will just take too long. Or if you want to save some time, you can just download all the datasets. For now, it's loading. I will pause the video again, and I will get back to you once the process is finished. Okay, so now let's proceed. And actually, I've forgotten to change the name. Now it's not Albuquerque anymore, it's Colorado. Okay. And here you see that the loading process is finished. Okay, and let's take a look. We don't see an error message, which is fine. Now let's run this cell, and you can see here that we have 875 rows. Okay, this is fine. Let's create our location column. Okay, output the updated data frame. Here we have right now the location. It's fine, and let's store it inside the Excel file. Open up the folder, and now it's here. So data frame Colorado. Double click. Let's take a look. And this is actually our data set for Colorado. Okay, this is actually it. Let's take a look. Okay, we also have a little bit of missing data, but not that horrible how it looked like for Albuquerque. Okay, so we see, okay, we have a few missing data points, but it's not a big deal. Our data frame is quite large. This is why it's okay for us. Okay, cool. Now we have 3 different data sets. We started with San Diego, then with Albuquerque, and now we have Colorado. Again, so I will actually stop here with the demonstration of the scraping process or the data extraction process. I would suggest you or recommend you to go ahead and create the remaining data sets on your own. Okay, I mean, it's actually, we have covered it right now a few times, and it's just repeating and repeating, and I don't want to waste your time, guys. So go ahead, do this on your own, or another possibility is just to go to the download section and download all the datasets. Okay, I will put them in the download area, and if you want to save some time, go ahead, download it, because we will need all 10 datasets for the next section where we want to clean our data. Okay, this is it. Okay, so thank you very much right now, and I see you in the next section where we proceed with the data cleaning part.